Hello, this is Monty Van Wart, your instructor. Today we are going to be looking at legal issues, and we have as our guest speaker Rebecca Christopher. Rebecca Christopher has the title of Human Resource Management Manager, rather, and we are only going to focus on one issue today because there's so many different legal issues. So the example that we're going to use today is sexual harassment. But before we get to that, let me ask Rebecca to introduce herself. Rebecca, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. My name is Rebecca Christopher, and I'm a manager here in the Human Resources Department. I've been with the university now for 14 years in my current role, and I am a Title IX investigator as well.
Excellent, thank you so much. So our first question is, how does CSUSB deal with sexual harassment proactively in terms of training?
In terms of training, well, the CSU follows our Executive Order 1095, and that's a policy that prohibits system-wide sex discrimination, sexual harassment, sexual misconduct, domestic violence, and also has a stalking policy. This order requires each campus to implement preventative measures such as training classes. California state law requires that all supervisors have a mandatory class that prevents sexual harassment. New employees must take this within 6 months of their date of hire and have a refresher every 2 years.
Excellent. So my next or follow-up question is, to whom are cases of sexual harassment reported? What are the requirements for agency action when complaints are reported?
Well, all reports of sexual harassment should be reported to Cesar Portillo. He is the Associate Vice President for Human Resources. He is also our Harassment, Discrimination, and Retaliation Administrator. As a CSU employee, we are required to report any sexual harassment or allegations of sexual harassment that we may see on campus.
Okay, and that refers to all employees, correct?
That is correct. That would be student assistant employees, supervisors, or your peers.
Excellent. So then the next question I have is, what are the steps that are typically followed when there is a report or an allegation of sexual harassment?
Well, employees typically have an opportunity to participate in what we call a campus early resolution process. And that's an informal process where an investigation isn't initiated, and we try to seek a resolution between the two parties. Sometimes that resolution can be a transfer to a different department, or it can just be working out the problem. If a resolution is not reached during that time, an investigation would be initiated.
Okay. And what are the possible adverse actions in the more serious cases? Because I know there are some cases that are not particularly serious. Perhaps there are a number of cases that are dismissed for lack of substance, lack of proof, but there are also more serious cases. What are some of the possible adverse actions in the most serious cases or the more serious cases?
Well, here at CSUSB, we do have an obligation to take corrective action. Depending on the severity, like you said, that could lead to demotion, suspension, or even termination for some of those more severe cases.
And have you seen cases of termination here at CSUSB for sexual harassment?
Yes, I have.
Yes. And actually, I think there have even been some faculty who have been terminated. Do you have any suggestions or comments about making sure that an agency has a good sexual harassment, not just policy, but implementation plan?
Well, I think for sexual harassment policies, that needs to be something that's introduced at the start of employment. And it also needs to be refreshed, I would say, every year, maybe every other 2 years. It's very important, and I think especially here at Cal State San Bernardino, we have a large student population. That's our main customer, and our students are watching us. And I think it's our obligation to show them what a professional environment looks like, one that's free of sexual harassment. And if they do see it, they can recognize and know that it's not the okay thing to do in a workplace.
So, Rebecca, on behalf of our virtual class, I want to applaud you very much for this very good, very concise discussion of one legal issue. There are many others that we could talk about, but I think this has given a lot of insight into a concrete example. Again, thank you very much.